Dracula, Chapter 5, page 69 to 81. Letter from Miss Mina Murray to Miss Lucy Westenra. May 9th. My dearest Lucy, forgive me for taking so long to write. You know that I am teaching school, and I have been overwhelmed with work. I wish I were with you by the sea, where we can really talk together. I have been working especially hard lately, practicing shorthand. When Jonathan and I are married, he will be able to dictate his papers to me, and then I can write them out on the typewriter. He and I sometimes write letters in shorthand, and during his business trip, he is keeping a shorthand journal. When you and I are vacationing together in Whitby, I will keep a diary in the same way. I don't suppose it will be very interesting to other people, but it is not intended for them. I may show it to Jonathan some day, but it is really more for practice than anything. I will try to do what journalists do, interviewing and writing descriptions, and trying to remember conversations. I am told that with a little practice, one can remember almost everything that happens during a day. However, we shall see. I will tell you of my little plans when we meet. I have just had a few hurried lines from Jonathan from Transylvania. He is well and will be returning in about a week. I can't wait to hear all his news. It must be nice to see strange countries. I wonder if Jonathan and I, shall ever see them together. I must go now. Goodbye from your loving Mina. P.S. Tell me all the news when you write. I hear rumors, especially of a tall, handsome, curly-haired man. Letter from Lucy Westenra to Mina Murray, May 15th. My dearest Mina, it's not fair to say I don't write. I've written you twice since we last saw each other. Besides, there really isn't any news. We just go to museums and for walks and rides in the park. As to the tall, curly-haired man, that must be Mr. Arthur Holmwood. He often comes to see us, and he and Mamma get along very well. We recently met a man that would be perfect for you, if you were not already engaged to Jonathan. He really is a catch. His name is John Seward, and he is a handsome, pleasant doctor, very clever. He's only 29, but he is already the director of a huge lunatic asylum. He is an old friend of Mr. Holmwood's, and he often comes to visit now. He has an unusual habit of looking very intently at you, as if trying to read your mind. He tries this with me, but I don't think I let anyone know what I'm really thinking. I know this from looking at myself in the mirror. He says that I am a tough case for him, and in my humble opinion, he is correct. As you know, I don't care about many things that young ladies are supposed to care about. I don't like to gossip, and clothes are a bore. Fortunately, Arthur seems to like this about me. There, I can't hold it in any more, Mina. We have told all our secrets to each other since we were children. Oh, Mina, can't you guess? I'm in love with Arthur. I am blushing as I write these lines. Although I think he loves me, he has not told me so in words. But oh, Mina, I love him, I love him. I wish I were with you, Mina, sitting by the fire, and I would try to tell you what I feel. I should tear this letter up, but I don't want to, because I need to talk about this to someone. Let me hear from you at once, and tell me all you think about it. Mina, pray for my happiness. Lucy. P.S. Of course, this is a secret. Good night again. L. Letter from Lucy Westenra to Mina Murray, May 24th. My dearest Mina, many thanks again for your sweet letter. It was so nice to be able to tell you about Arthur and to have you understand it all. You won't believe what has happened. As they say, it never rains, but it pours. Here am I, only 19, and I've never had a marriage proposal. But today I had 3. Can you imagine it? 3 proposals in one day? Isn't it awful? I feel so sorry for 2 of the poor fellows. Oh, Mina, I am so happy that I don't know what to do with myself. And 3! But for goodness sake, don't tell any of our other friends, or they will try to beat me out by getting at least 6. Some girls are so vain, not like you and me, dear Mina, who will soon be serious married women. Well, I must tell you about the 3, but you must keep it a secret from everyone, except, of course, Jonathan. You will tell him, because if I were in your place, I would certainly tell Arthur. A woman ought to tell her husband everything. Don't you think so? Well, my dear, number one came just before lunch. I told you about him, Dr. John Seward, the good-looking lunatic asylum man. He acted very cool, but I could tell he was nervous all the same. He almost managed to sit on his hat, and then he kept playing with a pencil in a way that made me nearly scream. He told me how much he cared for me, even though he has not known me long, and how happy he would be if I would marry him. He began to say how unhappy he would be if I did not care for him, but when he saw me start to cry, he stopped, saying he did not want to cause me pain. Then he asked if I thought I might learn to love him later. When I shook my head, he asked me if I already cared for someone else. He put it very nicely, Mina. He said, "I don't want to force your secrets out of you. It's just that, if your heart is free, I might still have hope." And then, Mina, I felt a sort of duty to tell him that there was someone. I only told him that much. He stood up very serious, and he took both my hands in his. He said he hoped I would be happy, and that I would think of him as my best friend. Oh, Mina dear, I can't help crying, and you must excuse this letter being all spotty. Being proposed to is all very nice, but it isn't at all a happy thing when you have to see a good man going away looking all broken-hearted. My dear, I must stop here now. I feel so miserable, though I am so happy. Evening. Arthur has just gone, and I feel more cheerful than before, so I can go on telling you about the day. Well, number two came after lunch. He is another friend of Arthur's, and such a nice fellow. He's an American from Texas, and he looks so young that it seems almost impossible that he has been so many places and has had such adventures. Mr. Quincy P. Morris found me alone. It seems that a man always finds a girl alone. No, that's not true, for Arthur tried twice to find me all alone, with me helping him all I could. I am not ashamed to say it. I must tell you beforehand that Mr. Morris doesn't always speak slang, for he is really well educated and has beautiful manners. But once he found out that it amused me to hear him talk American slang, he began doing it constantly. Well, Mr. Morris sat down beside me and looked as happy as he could, but I could see all the same that he was very nervous. He took my hand in his and said ever so sweetly, "Miss Lucy, I know I ain't good enough to tie your little shoes, but I guess if you wait till you find a man that is, you'll be waiting until the cows come home. Won't you just hitch up alongside of me and let us go down the long road together, driving in double harness?" He looked so good-humored that it didn't seem half so hard to refuse him as it did poor Mr. Seward. So I said as lightly as I could that I did not know anything about hitching, and that I wasn't used to a harness at all. Then he said that he had spoken jokingly, and he hoped I would forgive him, because he really did mean to be serious. And then, before I could say a word, he began pouring out words of love, laying his heart and soul at my feet. I suppose he saw something in my face which alarmed him, for he suddenly stopped and said, "Lucy, you are an honest-hearted girl, I know. I wouldn't be here speaking to you like this if I didn't know you were. Tell me, like one good friend to another, is there another man that you care for? If there is, I'll never bother you like this again. But if you will let me, I'll be your faithful friend." Mina, I don't deserve such kindness. Here I was almost making fun of Mr. Morris, and he is such a big-hearted, wonderful man. I burst into tears. I'm afraid, and you will think this a very sloppy letter in more ways than one, and I really felt very badly. Why can't they just let a girl marry 3 men, or as many as want her, and save all this trouble? But I mustn't think such things. I looked into Mr. Morris's eyes, and I told him straight. Yes, there is someone I love, though he has not yet told me that he loves me. I know I was right to tell him, for his face brightened up, and he put out both his hands and took mine. He said, That's my brave girl. It's better to be late for winning you than on time for any other girl in the world. Don't cry for me, my dear. I'm a tough one. If that other fellow doesn't speak up soon, well, he'll have to deal with me. You'll always have a friend for life, and they're harder to come by than sweethearts. Won't you give me one kiss? It'll be something sweet for me to remember. You can, if you like, for that other fellow hasn't spoken yet. Wasn't that sweet of him, Mina? Especially when he was feeling so sad. I leaned over and kissed him. He stood up with my hands and said, "Little girl, I hold your hand and you've kissed me. And if these things don't make us friends, nothing ever will. Thank you for your sweet honesty to me, and goodbye." He squeezed my hand, and taking up his hat, went straight out of the room without looking back. And here I am crying like a little baby. Oh, why must a man like that be unhappy when there are lots of girls who would worship the ground he walked on? I know I would if I were free. Only I don't want to be free. My dear, this has me so upset that I don't feel like writing about my happiness yet. Your loving Lucy. P.S. Oh, about number 3? Do I really need to say anything? Besides, it was all so confused. It seems as though one moment Arthur was walking into the room, and the next he had his arms around me and was kissing me. I am very, very happy, and I don't know what I have done to deserve it. Goodbye. Dr. Seward's Diary, May 25th. No appetite today. Can't eat. Can't rest. Since Lucy turned me down yesterday, I have such an empty feeling. Nothing seems important enough to do. The only cure for this sort of thing is work, I know, so I went to see the patients. I picked out one who interests me very much. His name is Renfield. He is so unusual that I am determined to understand him as well as I can. Today I seem to make some progress. I asked him more questions than ever before, wanting to understand the facts of his madness. Perhaps it was cruel to do so, because I was actually encouraging him to spend time in his more insane state. Letter from Quincy P. Morris to Arthur Holmwood, May 25th. My dear Art, we've told stories by the campfire and bandaged each other's wounds in the tropics and drunk to each other's health on the shores of South America. There are more yarns to be told and other wounds to be healed and someone new to drink a toast to. Won't you join me at my campfire tomorrow night? Don't tell me that you are busy, for I happen to know that a certain lady is going to a certain dinner party and that you are free. There will be only one other, our old pal Jack Seward. We both want to cry into our beer and to drink a toast to the luckiest man in the whole wide world. We promise you a hearty welcome and true congratulations, but we swear to leave you at home if you drink too deep into a certain pair of eyes. Come. Yours as ever and always, Quincy P. Morris. Telegram from Arthur Holmwood to Quincy P. Morris on May 26th. Count me in. Art.